So we are grateful to the organizers of the Kerala Literature Festival, our guest for today, Ms. Rupika Chawla, and all those who have joined us in making this evening possible, which I'm sure is promised to be yet another enlightening session. Beginning this session with a brief introduction about our guest, Ms. Rupika Chawla has written extensively on contemporary Indian art. She's an art conservator, art historian, and also does and imparts training on arts restoration. In addition to the book on Raja Ravi Varma, which is the focus of our discussion today, Ms. Chawla has authored Surface and Depth, Indian Art to Set Work, Symbolism and Geometry in Indian Art, and A. Ramachandran, Art of the Muralist. She's written extensively on contemporary Indian art and maintained a column in the Indian Express from 2001 to 2004. Ms. Chawla is known as an authority on Raja Ravi Varma's art with a deep understanding about the multiple shades of his works. And in our conversation today, we would specifically be discussing about her book, Raja Ravi Varma, the painter of colonial India, which explores Raja Ravi Varma's artistic legacy and the legendary work that he has done. A very unique feature of this book, which also I found it interesting, is that the buyer is given a choice of two splendid dusk jackets. Like when I say dusk jackets, those are the detachable outer cover of the book. One has a male image on it, and the other one has a female image on it. And that's the buyer's choice, which one to go for. My first question, Raja Ravi Varma, being known to be an exponent with a perfect combination, I'm borrowing your words, of academic realism, oil paint, and mythology. Could you please elaborate on that? Academic realism, oil paint, and mythology.
These are the three things that made Ravi Varma's paintings what they are. One is mythology. He grew up.
Close.
Yeah. Everyone can hear me. No, you can hear me, can't you? Yeah. He grew up in an aristocratic environment in Kilimanur, and where he received a thorough education in Sanskrit and Malayalam and the religious texts and the Puranas. And he knew them inside out. So when he started to paint, he knew exactly how to pull out the nuances of a story to put it into a visual narrative. By that, I also mean that he was able to use hands in the appropriate way, the body movements, the face, the expressions. He was able to use all that. And he was able to also understand the inner body, the body which is within the clothes. So it is the body which is within the clothes that he would then dress. So he got a perfect shape. So these were all things he understood. And he was able to get the assistance of oil paints. And with oil paints, he was able to turn the painting around. Plus, realism. By realism, it means that he was able to get the smallest detail of what he wished into the painting. And some of the details had great meaning to the narrative, to the story that he was telling. The stories were not only mythology, they were, as he put it, Puranic paintings, and then iconic paintings, like the painting of Lakshmi, which we'll see, is an iconic painting because she stands in a frontal pose, looking at you, waiting to bless you, waiting to receive your wishes and your prayers. And the third category he liked was scenes from classical Indian literature. So all the Shakuntala and Sarandri that he did were all scenes from classical Indian literature. So you have his possibility because he had the tools. He had the training, he had oil, he had realism, he had the stories absolutely clear and deeply etched in his mind.
Yeah. Though our topic is totally visual because of the limitations of what the system here is, we have to narrate it. But we've taken a help of. Could you just project one image? Excuse us.
Just
The image of Lakshmi.
I'm sorry, we have limitations of not being able to show any images because here we are and it's been impossible to show images. But we've been able to pull out one image, rather Rishikesh has been able to do it, one image that we can discuss. Are you showing?
Yes. Have you projected? Yes.
So this is Lakshmi.
Yes.
This is Lakshmi. He was asked by the Maharaja of Baroda, who was one of his patrons, to paint Lakshmi. Now this is the first time anyone was painting, um, an image like Lakshmi in this way. There have been sculptures from Sanchi onwards of Lakshmi and Maya, but no one had painted Lakshmi. Ravi Varma came across a problem. What was he going to make her wear? Because Lakshmi did not belong to any region. He couldn't make her wear a mund or a 9-yard sari or a Mysore many folded sari or the Gujarati 9-yard Naulakhi sari. He couldn't do that because by putting Lakshmi into any regional sari, he was saying Lakshmi belongs to that region and not to the rest of India. And he wanted something which belonged to the whole country. Lakshmi was for the entire country. At that time was emerging the modern sari that we wear today. And that is the sari he then painted on Lakshmi. And to show the sari completely, he made her stand so that you can see the sari in its entirety. So whenever he wanted to, subsequently to Lakshmi, whenever he wanted to project an image which was fully for the country, a pan-nation image, he would make her wear this sari. But whenever it was necessary to place the lady into a mund or a 9-yard sari, he would do that accordingly. So he was very conscious of the little nuances that exist in everything that he painted.
Your book has 8 beautifully illustrated chapters. Since our focus of our discussion is about the books, could you please give a brief idea about how you have sequenced those chapters and what exactly is the content in the interest of the audience?
I had to give a background of Ravi Varma. It was important to give a background not only of Ravi Varma's upbringing, but a background of the period that existed at that time. It was a very important period where many inventions were happening, the postal telegraph system, the railways, the electricity started, the gas light, motor cars, newspapers. So everything started at that time. It was a very interesting period. And it's important because it either impacted on Ravi Varma's lifestyle or it came out in his paintings. So his paintings also, you'll come across a painting, Woman Reading a Letter. It's just not woman reading a letter. It's because the postal and telegraph system has emerged that woman is reading a letter, man reading a newspaper with near a gaslight. So he's talking about two things. He's talking about the gas lines, the pipes that had started to emerge from Russia, that made it possible for gas to come. That's one point. And the second point is newspapers were being printed, which of course only the aristocracy was able to read at that time. So you have, he had very subtle ways of telling you about that. So because of his aristocratic background, he was not able to go overseas. Kala Pani, you'll be ostracized, you cannot leave the country, cross the seas. And he had a yearning to travel. And this is about the time when railways reached near Shoranur. So Ravi Varma was very quick to get onto the waterways of Kerala, go all the way up, take a carriage, go to Shoranur and take the train. In the beginning, the train was only to Madras and the places that he would pass. And then gradually it went on to Bombay and Baroda and Mysore and Udaipur, Darjeeling. So he was up and away as soon as the railways allowed him. And that is what gave him great visibility. And that was part of his fame, that he was able to make himself known, make himself seen. He networked. He met many people. He saw to it that he met the divans and the minor princes, the wealthy businessmen and the lawyers, and he painted a great deal for them. So chapter 2 is about his travels. Chapter 3 is about the main courts that he went to, or the main places that he went to: Bombay, Madras,
Baroda,
Hyderabad, Pudukkottai, Travancore, of course, Mysore, Baroda. So these were the main places he went to, and all Udaipur, and all the adventures, so to speak, he had in these courts or these cities, and what he painted, the people he met, the adventures he had. But the place that became central to him was Bombay, because Bombay was a very modern city. And of course, Kerala at that time was very strict and very conservative. And going to Bombay gave him a little freedom, and he would go to the theater, he would go and watch dances, he would listen to music, he would meet people of different communities, of different religions, and he had a wonderful time. And it is close to Bombay that he set up his printing press. But that's in another chapter. That's in chapter 6, when he discovered that he could not paint fast enough for everyone. And it was important to set up his printing press. And he found this lovely place which is near Lonavala, near Pune. By that time, he had already become familiar with that place, because this was the place that everyone from Bombay had taken retreat during the plague that had come to Bombay at that time. When he started his printing press, he did it with a great deal of method. He realized he needed the best machinery. Now, he could not go abroad. He could not cross the seven seas because of this curse of Kalapani. He sent someone to Germany to find someone who was a good chromolithograph, the person who makes oleographs. And he signed a contract with such a German chromolithograph, chromolithographer, and who came back with the machinery and himself, and he set up base in the forest near Lonavala, and that is where the printing press started. The printing press is now no more. That is where all your many oleographs that everyone has, which were printed by the lakhs and lakhs and lakhs. All those were printed in this press. The last building of the press collapsed about 8 years ago, and the owner has now sold it with the condition that whatever is left remains like a forest. So that is the end of what the printing press was. But it is still interesting if anyone goes there to see the whole area where the printing press used to be. So that was the end. And he had to sell the press because he could not, he wasn't a businessman. He was a creative person. He sold the press to the German. And so the descendants are that. But the oleographs that all of you must have seen never stopped being just the oleographs. From there, they went all over India, as I've said. They were converted into Tanjore glass paintings. They were taken into, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Dattatreya, Shakuntala. So many of these images were taken into Chettiar temples, for example. They were made into other objects, into terracotta objects. So this went on and on and on. Ravi Varma also went into cinema. His paintings were visualized and used in cinema as well. And even till today it carries on. There are still echoes of Ravi Varma that carry on, whether it's in fashion, whether it's in cinema, whether it's books, it still carries on. Ravi Varma's, even in art. So it's not that Ravi Varma's influence has at all stopped.
I think Ravi Varma has profusely influenced the Indian aesthetics as such. And one very clever, if I may call being a marketing faculty, of sort of personal branding which he has done with the bringing in of technology at a very early phase, and wherein probably at some point he was also criticized for being a poster making an artist, because his images were there in matchboxes, it was there in posters, it was there in anywhere and everywhere that you could think about.
But a lot of this happened after he was gone. Okay. But the criticism against Ravi Varma actually came during the Swadeshi movement. Now, Ravi Varma dies in 1906. And the Swadeshi movement is 1905. By the time it started and it picked up, his image was transformed by the people, by the intellectuals of that time. The thing that had actually happened was that this is roughly the period of Swadeshi, which is, you sort of are now saying only rejection of foreign goods and only Indian goods are to be used. So he was criticized first on that. because he was using oil paints, canvas, and brushes, which are not Indian. So he was rejected on that point first. He's anti-national, they said, because he's not using mediums that are Indian. The second point that they found very much against him is that, oh, what's this mythology he paints? It's nothing much. Anyone can be doing it, you know. But what had actually happened at this period is that most of the intellectuals of that time, the ones who were deciding policy and deciding the way things were going, like the Tagores, Ananda Kumara Swami, Sri Aurobindo Ghosh, all of them had visited Ajanta, the Ajanta caves. And the paintings they had seen at the Ajanta caves were completely different from what Ravi Varma was painting. Now Ravi Varma was painting in oils. He was painting details. He was going into every little detail, you know, whether it was covering a sari with motifs, a curtain, putting the gold jewelry, everything. But the Ajanta paintings that these people saw, they thought were very sophisticated. And Sri Aurobindo Ghosh put it by saying that the Ajanta paintings give me the possibility to meditate, because the outline is very strong of the Ajanta paintings. The inside is bare. I can meditate. But Ravi Varma's paintings, they give me no chance because everything is said. There is nothing for me to think about. So they are just so childish. So Ravi Varma was condemned at that time. He was therefore considered anti-national. It was just as well that he died in 1906, I suppose, because he was considered anti-national. And gradually, over the decades, the 1910s and the 1920s, 30s, gradually his popularity fell. People who had their paintings hanging on walls, slowly they came down, they put them away into corners here and there, or even they even forgot they had Ravi Varma, so they were just hanging for years and years and years. But you know, nothing is linear. Everything is like a cycle. You know, it's cyclic, it goes round and round. And then so many art movements came and went, so you have various art movements from the 40s to the 50s, 60s, 70s. There were so many art movements in India that happened. We all know there were many things. I can't go into that, we have limited time. And it is in the 90s that actually you must be aware of your great Malayali artist A. Ramachandran, who lives in Delhi. He and I, we planned an exhibition of Ravi Varma in Delhi. Of course, it was a very difficult exhibition to do. We took all the paintings from Sri Chitra Art Gallery, a lot of them. We chose many paintings from Sri Chitra Art Gallery, and we had a wonderful exhibition in Delhi in 1993. And soon after that, the curve went up. The curve slowly went up for the attention that was given to Ravi Varma. And slowly, and now Ravi Varma commands crores. It's difficult to find a Ravi Varma in the first place. There are no end of fakes to be found. There are so many fakes. And if you find an original, that original will go into crores. So this is the way things move. There is never a linearity in these matters. It's always what goes away comes back. So here we have Ravi Varma back again.
Just one last question from my side. It's read that the restoration, because that's one of your another intervention in Ravi Verma painting, a single piece of art would take about 6 to 8 months. In certain cases, it might go up to 1.5 years. So, why is restoration of Raja Ravi Verma paintings required, and what is the cost? What was the process? If you could elaborate a bit, and then if there are any questions, we can take those questions.
Like I told you, Ravi Varma was ignored after a certain period. People threw away their Ravi Varmas in corners, under staircase, whatever they did. Now, having done that, those paintings were going to suffer. They developed cracks, they developed tears, they developed holes, dust, fungus, dirt, all kinds of things. And the paintings were in a very pathetic condition, most of them. And some people had even tried to make them look better by painting over them. Now, restoration is a very specialized way of of healing, if I can use the word. It's a very specialized way of healing a painting. We get to the reasons as to why a painting, like the tear has come, the painting is dirty. We clean the dirt first. Then there are certain methods of repairing the tear. There are certain methods of hiding the tear and making it look as if nothing was really the matter with the painting. Since this is very fine work and slow work, it takes time. So we take about 4 to 5 to 6 months to do these paintings, to restore Ravi Varma, remove the dust, the cobwebs, the holes, the tears, the dents, the cracks. Though I must say, his technique was so good that the paintings have not suffered because of Ravi Varma's method of painting. They have suffered because of neglect. That's the only. He was remarkable, I must say. Yes.
For the paucity of time, we'll have to wind up. If there are any questions, probably after the session, we can have a one-on-one interaction with ma'am. There are books in, only the Malayalam version is available here. You can get a signed copy of the books which ma'am has written, and even the same book is available online as well. So Ravi Varma, I believe, continues to be an important figure in modern and contemporary Indian artists. Hope the book which ma'am Rupika Chawla has written would help us know more about Varma, would encourage all those interested to get a signed copy of this book. Thank you very much for the time that you've spent with us. Thank you.
The copy that is available is in Malayalam. It's a translation done by Ravi DC. The actual book in English has been published by Mappin, but the Malayalam version is available here. Yeah, the Malayalam version is available here. Are there any questions? No one wants to ask me anything? Oh, no one wants to ask anything? So satisfied? Have I said something that provokes you? Nothing? Come on, something.
I wasn't here in the beginning, but I've heard, I don't know how true this is, but I heard there was slander about the maid he took for his model. I've heard that he took one of his maids as a model, and there was some controversy about that as well.
You know, are you Malayali?
No.
No, you're not. But you have to understand, and a Malayali from an upper class family who is head of his clan in the 19th century. He's head of his clan. Now, it was a very conservative society. he has to be very careful of the way he behaves. And he behaved with great circumspection. When he goes to Bombay, he looks for models. Remember, anyone who's making academic, realistic paintings requires a model. You can even have a chair as a model, a table as a model. He used his cook as a model. He used people from his, he was heading a family of 250 people. They lived in this large estate near Trivandrum in Kilimanur. He could use anyone, he used anyone as a model. Now, a model in our minds is a beautiful, young, shapely woman. But that's not the case. A model is anyone whom you need to look at to draw, whom you want to follow, whose lines you want to follow, whose muscles you want to see, who you want to see how the light falls on the clothes, on the side of the cheek, whatever. So that's the model. Now he did use, there were certain singing women in Bombay who were mistresses of Parsi, German, English people. But he was very careful because he was who he was. He was Koil Tampuran. He was head of the family in Kerala. And there is nothing that he could do, nothing that he should do, that is wrong. So his character was above reproach. And all this that you hear, these are all stories. These are all stories just meant to give mirch masala to the man. But no, they are all stories.
Compared to everybody on earth, this is a famous Indian chap. Indians have to promote this Indian chap. All these Raja's paintings are very private collections. Why don't they display them? Somebody will go and say it's this castle put in there, it's in that fort put in there. They never display it to me. That's why nobody likes these guys. I know they like them, but you think he's got a chance to see one? Has he seen one?
You have to go to museums.
Museum has one or two. Everything is in the Raja's house.
No. Sri Chitra Art Gallery, one museum. Mysore, one museum. Baroda, one museum. Madras, one museum. So you have, and now in Delhi there is going to be a museum. So you have 5 museums where you can see Ravi Varma paintings. Trivandrum is not far. Baroda, Mysore, all of them have